Okay, so you have a product that you want to sell to IT professionals. Maybe it's a cloud or data platform, ERP, unified communications. Maybe it's enterprise security software. Whatever it is, you are launching a full-scale integrated marketing program. You have everything from media relations to social media, influencers, display and demand gen. You even have an employee activation program in place. And you've gone through rounds and rounds of edits to your messaging, to your creative, all your landing pages, your KPIs are documented, your CMOs bought in, your agencies are excited, your employees and colleagues and GOs, they're all ready to go and push start. And then a few days later, you scratch your head wondering, why did my campaign not perform as I thought it would? Maybe it's your agency, let's blame them. Maybe the targeting is off. Maybe the website's broken. But the question I have for you is this: do you really know who your audience is? Did you spend time segmenting your audience to be as laser focused as possible? The reality is this: IT professionals have only one thing in common, and that is they work in IT. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of variables that make them distinct and unique from one another. And Google's only going to give you so much information. Now, don't get me wrong, you might find some good nuggets around content consumption, wants, desires, buying habits. In fact, I did find some good data from IDG that I wanted to share with you. So this is the 2019 Role and Influence of the Technology Decision Maker. This is research from IDG, a very reputable organization. I'm just going to talk about a couple bullet points here, and you can follow along on the screen. Innovation is really the one reason why IT decision makers are seeking new platforms. So those vendors that are integrating AI and machine learning into their software are really driving demand against this audience. IT decision makers are looking to influencers to validate purchase. I've said this many times, this really is excellent data to really inform the creation of an influencer program in order to surround sound audiences with content that's trusted and also game-changing. And then the last bullet point here that I thought was interesting was the fact that they are consuming a lot of content. Now, it's kind of a no-brainer, but if you scroll down here to the SlideShare presentation, let me just zoom in here. You can see that this is broken down by the types of content and the types of topics. So everything from enterprise software, data analytics, down to storage and telecom, you can see the quantity of content being downloaded by the IT decision maker audience. So this to me is great opportunity for you to think about how to create very unique and laser focused content, and then putting it behind a firewall, right? Collecting email addresses and driving leads. And I also wanted to share this study here by Adobe, and this was IT decision makers, data security, and AI are top priorities. Now, I'm pretty familiar with this study. I mentioned it a few times over the last year or so. And the study examined IT decision makers' top concerns for 2020. This was published, I believe, in October of 2019. And just a couple data points here. Data security was top concern, AI implementation, creating better customer experience, using machine learning, etc. I also found something interesting as well. What factors are actually influencing purchase? Faster integration and AI-powered technology. So that kind of hits on the last data point that we just looked at from IDG. So I want to now introduce you to a new concept called multi-segment audience intelligence. And the process involves dissecting and clustering sub-audiences, analyzing each of their sharing habits, conversational patterns, demographics, and psychographics in order to get actionable and defendable insights that you can use to make data-informed decisions. You take a break after that one. But for the purposes of this blog post, I wanted to do a quick analysis of IT decision makers, really to show you how this works and to show you it in action. And looking at this cluster analysis, this really does show our sub-audiences and how they are connected. Now, because I work a lot with B2B and technology companies, I can tell you that each of these IT audiences are very different, not just in terms of job titles or functions, but also their interests. Even within the C-suite and developers, which could be an entirely separate analysis, you'd find very different interests and characteristics. Moving on to what I call the audience matrix. Now, the top row represents the audiences we just looked at. In the columns, I added a few variables that I like to use. Which brands do they follow and talk about? What's the context of that conversation? What topics are they talking about more or less about over time? What's top of mind for them right now, today? What software language do they use to develop code? Obviously, this isn't applicable to everyone, but for the developer and engineer audience. What media publications are they reading when it comes to specific topics? In other words, when they're reading about business, are they reading Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Business Insider, or all three? And maybe for security-related topics, they prefer platforms like ZDNet and dark reading. And then maybe for content related to AI and data, it's the Enterprisers Project. And lastly, what hashtags are they using in social media? Now, I don't have time to do a full analysis and fill in this matrix, But if I were planning a campaign, I would go through this exercise and share it with my internal stakeholders. You'd be surprised at how different each one of these sub-audiences are from one another. So just to recap, I just want to reiterate that in order to really make an impact and reach your audience with game-changing surround sound content that drives action, you cannot just do blanket content, blanket messaging, blanket creative. It has to be laser focused and targeted. And you can only do that through what I call multi-segment audience intelligence. And that is just taking a very deep dive at an audience of developers or data scientists or IT decision makers or CIOs or CTOs, and really building these sub-segments of audiences to better understand their unique characteristics. What makes them different from one another? What channels do they use more or less than others? What's top of mind for them today and what was trending before that isn't trending anymore. I guarantee you by doing that, you will see much better results, exponential clicks, exponential sales and conversions if you were to just spend a little bit more time researching audiences and building plans around each one. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Hope you have a great day and talk to you soon. Bye.